everyone. This is Chala, Dincoy, CEO and founder of the Repositioning Expert. I'm here with another edition of the Naked Marketing Podcast, where we get naked and honest and authentic about our marketing mistakes. My next victim, guest, you name it, is Tom Pullen. Welcome, Tom, all the way from Paris, you guys.
Thank you, Chala. It's great to be here with you.
I know, and you're so polite because, you're British. And, we're Canadian, I'm Canadian, so we're supposed to be kind of like your poor cousin kind of thing. So we're also polite. It's lovely to meet you.
Potentially become a bit less polite since I've lived in France, but hey, that's another story.
Oh, that's true. That is true. They're supposed to be a lot more, assertive.
Oh, I'm kidding. I love the French very much.
So,
I should say that from the
your
start.
landlady's watching probably. She's going to not be too happy about it. So tell us who you help and what you do all the way in France.
So it's great to be here. So my name is Tom Pullen, as you said. I'm the CEO and founder of a company called Innovinco. And what we do is to help people in large established corporations to accelerate growth through innovation. As simple as that. So really a focus on helping the people, so building capability and confidence through short, impactful solutions, often delivered through digital, to get impact as quickly as possible.
So, I love the whole innovation thing is very, 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 it's key and it's timely and it's very hot, it's the hot to trot topic. So, and I know you were an innovation expert in a very large corporation prior to this. And so you must have been a very, it must have been a key role. But in the dollars and cents, what is the number one problem that you have been solving in the last couple of years that you've had your business through innovation?
One consumer problem or customer problem, or
a company that engages you wants you to do exactly what, and so give us an idea, because it's so broad, right?
Yeah, it's so broad. So as I said in the beginning, my company just focuses on what I call large established corporations. So that's companies that have wonderful histories, wonderful long histories, amazing brands, big team, big infrastructure, global presence. And those are exactly the types of companies that are specifically struggling or often struggling with everything to do with innovation. And I guess a couple of the pain points that we see quite often is around the speed of innovation projects within those organizations. So often they go very slow and cost a lot of money, and sometimes don't end up going anywhere. I think the other thing that we see a lot is that the senior leadership teams of those companies are often telling the teams, you must innovate, you must innovate, you must innovate. But the teams who are responsible for doing it don't often have the fundamental skills or training that they need to be able to deliver that. And so we're often coming in either to speed it up or to really help those teams to operationally deliver it.
And are they most often trying to come up with new products or come up with new strategies or systems? What is the number one, impetus to reach out for someone like you?
So I think the number one impetus is around business growth. Mm-hmm. So I think especially with everything that's happened over the last year, the last 18 months, growth has become a massive imperative. And for that to be, I would say, healthy growth, profitable growth that's also often related to sustainability and purpose and some of those things as well. And so I think people want to identify and deliver projects which are new products or new services or new business models. And those are the things that we typically get involved in.
Right. And so for giant corporations, it's taking them so long to get new products or services out the door that they're missing the boat and they're missing the dollar and they're not able to capture the opportunity. And that's where they call you.
Yeah, and I think a lot of them recognize now that the world is moving quite a lot faster than it was maybe 3, maybe 5 years ago, especially with the acceleration of a lot of startup structures. Mm-hmm. And so what was okay in terms of ways of working kind of 5 years ago actually isn't necessarily cutting it today in terms of delivering the results that they need in order to drive that continual growth.
How do you train for innovation? I mean, is there an innovation school? I bet you there is. I bet you there's programs now. But how do you train for such a thing?
So there are many different ways to do it. Often need to start with just a little bit of mindset to understand, the types of attitudes and behaviors you need to be a successful innovator, especially within a large corporation, I would say. That's often the starting point, because if that's not in place, it's quite difficult to do the rest. And then it's very simple. It's about making sure that people understand where to get the best inspiration for their innovation initiative, which can be customers, it can be competitors, it can be suppliers. There's lots of different sources of inspiration out there. And then really helping them to have the skills and the processes to take that and work it right through to an idea which will make money, and most importantly, serve a customer need. And that's really, it's as simple as that, I would say.
That's great. And so let's talk, this is a marketing show. So let's talk about your marketing. I know that you left the big corporate, world a short time ago, and luckily before the huge pandemic, because my God, that would have been something else. And a lot of people, the great resignation is happening right now. So how have you been marketing yourself, or did you even have to?
A mixture of things, actually. I think one thing I've learned about the type of job and the type of company that we are is that a huge proportion of our work comes through positive word of mouth, sort of unprompted positive word of mouth. And what we've seen is a surprising number of large corporates referring us between them, simply from people who used to work with people who are looking for a solution. So a lot of the marketing, I would say, has been organic in that sense. I think in terms of what we've proactively done over the last 4 years, I think that probably the biggest investment actually has been in some of the biggest conferences around everything to do with innovation in corporates, because that's a great opportunity to just get in front of and speak to and connect with a large group of people in a very efficient time frame, and often very highly qualified sales leads, I would say.
That's great.
And we're also doing a lot more, starting to get much more active in terms of content strategy through video and things like that.
Yes, I definitely watched some of those cool videos in the streets of Paris, I'm imagining.
Yeah, absolutely. And London.
That's wonderful. So this brings me to your marketing mistake, which is fabulous, because you really had to think about it. It was great that it wasn't such a big dollar sign that is like printed in your psyche that is there for you. But yeah, tell us about, the mistake that you did make in the last couple of years since starting your business.
So I think we were talking about it just a little bit off air. I think that this kind of, I guess, the more sales type mistake that I made, going back to what I was saying about those conferences, was that I think you really have to be intentional about your sales strategy for conferences. And so I think the first year, so we've sponsored the world's largest innovation conference now for the last 4 years, I think, or maybe 4 years. And on the first year, I remember kind of rocking up thinking, great, table, stand, it all looks wonderful, had some great conversations with people. And afterwards, you're like, but why aren't they getting back in touch with me? And then in the second year, I realized that actually most of the, how can I say, the sales job was actually done before the conference even started. So that was a great tip from one of my fellow entrepreneurs who was there. And little by little, realized that probably the most important part of those kind of sales tactics at conferences, you've got the before, but you've definitely got the after. And just because you're handing out lots of kind of business cards that look really flashy, and just because everyone's really excited about what you can do and how you can help, doesn't mean that when they get back to the office on Monday morning, they're just going to call you first thing. That doesn't happen. So really rigorous follow-up, not in a kind of pushy way, but just reminding people that you're there, reminding people that you had a great chat, reminding people what you do, how you can help. It is really critical in terms of capitalizing on those conference experiences.
Absolutely. And it's so funny that you call it a sales activity, because in my world, everything that happens until the question, how much is it, is marketing. So, everything that happens after that question is sales. So in my world, what you're doing is marketing. And well, first of all, congratulations that you actually have been going to these conferences and spending money on sponsoring, if you have so much coming to you from referrals, and without doing anything. So good for you for even putting in the effort, because you really, you didn't really even have to, right? Because you already have, depends on how much you want to grow, I guess, right? So I'm hearing that you wanted to grow faster than the rate of referrals. So that's amazing. That's great.
And I think the other thing that I find about those conferences, so yeah, there's a sales or marketing objective clearly, but it's also really important to actually get, how can I say, live interaction with your potential customer set. So, what they want and what they need does evolve and change over time. And so to have that kind of dialogue is so critical to making sure that your offer is as sharp as it can be against what they're currently worried about, what they're currently needing. And so that's the kind of added bonus, I would say.
Absolutely. So the other thing, though, is that person that you're talking to, you have to make sure is the decision maker or influencer, because oftentimes we would go to trade shows and we would spend our brains out, and then the people that are coming would be like the lowest level, non-decision maker that you could get. So we'd be wasting our time, our efforts, our money, our energy. But to your point, once we learned and now teach how to engage way before, and engage the people that are at the highest levels using different tactics, we were able to use either our booth or our, keynote or whatever it was as just a stopping point to just actually do the meeting, to do the appointment. So that's brilliant. That's really brilliant. Yeah. And to your point, like the follow-up, to me, there should never have to be a follow-up, because you should never leave a meeting without a meeting. So if you're actually meeting them and it's a prospect and there's pain, you should never be leaving without the next step, right? So you don't have to phone them.
100% correct. 100%
Yeah.
correct. And now I've learned that I should systematically be doing that.
That's right. You don't ever have to call them. I know. Like, imagine that you would have like bags and bags full of cards in the days that we had to do that, right? And now it's a whole new world. Are you going in person now, like to things, or you're flying to the US? Is that what it is?
No, so the physical events seem to be starting up again, but
Wow.
to be honest, most of the really big major ones, so incredibly selective about which ones
Yeah.
we do, typically focused on one or two that have proven to be really good for us in the past,
Mhm.
and they're not opening up physically until next year, I think. So I've got a bit of time to wait, which is a bit frustrating because,
Yeah.
I'd love to feel like we were getting back to normal, but I think early next year it will really start in earnest again.
Yes, hopefully.
Yeah, fingers crossed.
Yeah, exactly. That's great. So, what is your parting advice for our viewers and listeners about marketing, Tom?
So I think the key thing, so I was a marketer on the corporate side for about 18 years, and obviously market now my own company. If there's one piece of advice I would give all of your listeners and all of your viewers, it would be go and spend as much time as you can with your customers. Because what I saw on the corporate side, but also what I've seen in the startup world, is that those companies who truly live and breathe with their customers in real life
Yeah.
are the ones that understand them best and therefore have the biggest ability to be able to provide solutions which provide most value, but also the most profit. And I know from my corporate side that I didn't spend as much time as I should with the customers of the big brands that I was working on. And I also see that in the startup world, those startups who are really nailing it at the moment are the ones who have the discipline to go out and interview 10, 50, 100 people in their target audience in order to get really deep understanding about who it is that they're targeting and how they can specifically help, and not forgetting those famous pain points.
That's right. Famous, very famous. That's great. So how can we reach you, Tom?
So you reach me on all social platforms, LinkedIn, a big one. So Tom J. Pullen, Instagram, Facebook, also on Twitter, always at Tom J. Pullen. You can also check out the YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/Innovinco, which is the name of the company.
Very nice. Thanks for being here, Tom.
My pleasure, Charlotte. It's great to be with you.